Hello, welcome guys. So today we're gonna do another draft review of scrims we had yesterday. I'm just gonna go over the picks, bans, and which team I think would have had the advantage using only the drafts. Of course, I know the teams better than you guys do. Of course, I know certain champion picks and whatnot. I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as possible and just only focus on what the draft can tell us. So let's see, blue team was actually also team black, and first game red side was team blue. Let's see, because it's not very organized. Blue ban. First ban, blue side was Lulu. That was due to after seeing G2 play Lulu, and we know that Team Blue's support is a Lulu abuser, seemed like a proper ban to throw to them. Team Blue or Red Side responded with the Senna ban. Of course, it's very common for Red Side teams to ban out most of the AD carries. Whereas of course for blue side it's easy to high priority pick an AD carry because you can play around most other champions, and if you pick like first pick Aatrox or whatever you want to pick first pick on blue side, then you give away your game plan. So picking AD carry first on blue is a very clean way, and that's why on red side most people ban a lot of AD carries. Then blue side banned Mordekaiser and LeBlanc. C and red side banned the Set and the Gangplank. I wouldn't know why you would ban Gangplank on blue side. It is not a Gangplank on red side. It's not a high priority pick for first pick on blue side because there's so many counter matchups and there's so many ways to play, or not so many. There is ways to play around the first pick Gangplank. But knowing the red side teams, they have a high priority on Ornn as a flex pick, mostly mid lane or either even top lane. So then banning Gangplank already gives away that they want to pick Ornn. And then I also think also the Set ban is targeted towards Ornn. Of course, Ornn has a long engage and Set needs champions to run into him. And then if you have a tank or a massive tank like Ornn that runs into you as Set, you can just dunk him back into the enemy team with your own ult, sustain, and have your team follow up. So I think Set would be nice into Ornn, and then of course the Gangplank outskills him and keeps him can keep him busy in the side lane. Still, it's his ultimate to be useful in team fights. And Gangplank just gets a free scaling lane if he's versus an Ornn. The Mordekaiser ban was due to the fact that we know that red side team likes to, besides drafting Ornn as a flex pick, also draft Mordekaiser as a flex pick. You could of course play in mid lane, he's common top lane. You've seen him of course a lot into Ornn. And the jungler also likes playing Mordekaiser. And the LeBlanc ban was also because their mid laner plays a lot of LeBlanc, and it just even though I don't agree, it's not the best ban because if you pick her, you put yourself on a timer. Of course, she's gonna get outskilled by almost every single mid laner there is, but you just lose so much priority in the early game with the early dragons, with the early Rift Heralds, that there's a slight threat that your team is gonna get stomped in the early game, and that's also just a very hard matchup to play for mid lane. Like in team fights, it's alright if you have a good safe backline or peel or whatever, or instant CC. But besides that, it's just it's a hard matchup. So blue side first pick was why is there no Ornn? It's slow. So one of the things, by them banning the Gangplank and the Set, you already have less counters to the Ornn, of course, because the Gangplank outskills him, and Set gets like a free engage onto the blue team. Of course, there's a lot of people that pick Aatrox into Ornn. There's a lot of people that pick Mordekaiser into Ornn. The thing with Aatrox is that you don't outscale him. It's just you just make laning phase from the Ornn a little bit harder. But afterwards he's still gonna be very useful. And the thing with Mordekaiser, of course, was that in team fights he can ult. That Mordekaiser can ult the Ornn when Ornn ults, but the range is so big that you can just stand out of Death Realm range from the Mordekaiser and then just still get your engage off. The only thing that the first pick Ornn shows is that you really want to hard engage onto the enemy team, like with your ulti, and it means that there's a big chance that the oh fuck me. I should probably I'm gonna turn this around because I have messed it up, because it's blue side first, of course, and not red side. These are bans. No, alright. Have to restart a little bit. No, because I thought red pick first I was looking at it the wrong way. So it was a blue side first pick Aphelios, just because Aphelios has he is of course a little bit short range, not with his ult, but he gets out range like in lane by Caitlyn or in the late game by Senna. Of course they banned Senna. Caitlyn is not the biggest meta champion, and he does have some hard matchups in lane, but it's just a good strong AD carry that if you can build a team that you don't have to necessarily build a team around him. The enemy team has to build a team comp that counters the Aphelios in order to make him useless. And then, because they have to show their cards really early already with the red side first and second pick, it's really easy for blue side to just counter pick that and totally negate everything that they want to do and still make the Aphelios very useful. Then red side responded with what I had wrong the first time. The Ornn pick. I mean, I said already that it's gonna be. We know that they prioritize Ornn, and even though that they and also why they banned away the proper counters to Ornn, or not the proper hard counters, but champions that like to play into Ornn. And let's see, they red picked second, and they second picked. Did they actually second pick Thresh? Wait, I have to see. To check my Discord. Blue, red pick, yeah, alright, so the second pick Thresh. That, of course, from red side perspective, the good thing is that you take away two strong picks from lanes that blue side can pick. So you take away like one top laner, and you take away one support that blue side can't pick anymore. So that's why it's nice to pick different lanes than what blue side has picked. So for example, if you would pick AD carry here, then they can still if red side would pick AD carry, then blue side can still pick a strong top laner, or they can prioritize Ornn if they want to. And there's no point in picking AD carry first or second, because they have already picked an AD carry, so they're not gonna do that on B2 or B3. Of course they could, if you want to wait with AD carry until R4 or R5, they have a chance to ban out more AD carries. But of course that wasn't really the case. The downside of picking Ornn and Thresh already is that you're giving away your game plan already most of the time. Because as I said before, with the Ornn on blue side, Ornn is the champion that really wants to move forward. He wants to use his ultimate to engage. He gets the ornament, the upgrades for his team, so it's a scaling pick. That's also why they banned the Gangplank, because Gangplank is of course a very nice scaling pick as well into the Ornn. And then Thresh can have very different modes. He could go. He can engage, of course, with his hook, or he can flash flay. Or if you walk into him, he can flay, and if you walk into him, he can ult as well. So Thresh is a champion with a more versatile playstyle versus the Ornn. Ornn really wants to move forward and he wants to engage on the enemy team. Once you get into like the 2-3 item power spikes past the 20-minute mark, and Thresh can do the same thing, but also provide a lot of safety. But especially the Ornn pick already shows that you're not gonna play through topside because you have a weak topside champion that doesn't really do a lot in lane. Of course, everybody knows the damage that Ornn does, but it's still it's not a Renekton, it's not an Aatrox, it's not something that you can snowball through. Blue side responded with the Trundle. And what was the third pick? And Braum. So of course Trundle is really nice into Ornn. I think if you time it correctly, the pillar from Trundle can actually interrupt the Ornn ult. Of course you have a massive tank on the red side, and Trundle can steal away all the stats. So Trundle becomes the tank and Ornn is basically just a piece of paper. And even besides that, you have the Braum that is able to block the engage from Ornn. And besides that, Braum also gives a lot of safety towards Aphelios. And the same as with the combo of Braum Lucian. Like Aphelios also can build a lot of attack speed, especially if you go the Presence of Mind without you don't build Essence Reaver, you just go Infinity Edge into double Zeal. Then you can proc the Braum passive very quickly, and then you can interrupt somebody with the Trundle pillar. So there's like a lot of disruption and also zoning control on the blue side team. And also with red side showing that they want to engage with the Ornn, they want to skill up to like 20 minutes, get 2 items, get the Ornn upgrades for everybody. Thresh can provide a lot of safety for the AD carry. That just means blue side just pick the champions that say, alright, if you want to come into us with the Ornn ult, you're more than welcome to, because we're actually going to just destroy you if you step too close towards us. Red side responded with a last pick, Echo. Echo could of course be a flex pick. It's not common anymore, but you can or could still play Echo up in the top lane. You can also play him jungle, or you could just go mid lane. So that doesn't really show what they want to do. In terms of the lane assignments. But of course, Echo, same as with Ornn and same as with one of the modes that Thresh has, Echo wants to move forward. He wants to EQ or Protobelt or QE in, and then he assassinates like a target, like the Aphelios, and then he just ults out. It just gets a lot harder if you have the disruption from the Trundle pillar and you have a Braum that's just standing inside Aphelios' personal space, protecting him. But the Echo pick is on theme with what the Ornn wants to do and what the Thresh can do. You can already see here that red side is picking a slightly heavy forward moving engage scaling composition, and blue side also have the scaling, of course, with the Aphelios and the Trundle versus Ornn especially. But they also have a lot of safety and they have a lot of disengage or ways to negate the incoming engage from red side. The blue band fourth size was, let's see, Varus. Of course, because now we got to the point where red side doesn't pick an AD carry, so all the matchups that are favorable for Aphelios or that can work well together with Ornn, Thresh and Echo are gonna be banned out from the blue side. So they banned Varus and they banned they banned Varus and they banned Jarvan. Jarvan just to make the life of Aphelios slightly easier. If you got a Jarvan that ults in to the Aphelios, and then you get the Ornn ult as well, and then you have an Echo that goes in. There's a small chance that he's actually gonna survive that unless he's extremely fed or it's basically full build. There's not a lot that Braum can do against that. And then of course there's no way to pick Thresh to get the Aphelios out of the Jarvan Cataclysm because the red team picked Thresh. Then from the red side they banned, I forgot the 4th ban, and their 5th ban was Zoe. I might as well just assume that their 4th ban was also a mid laner, but I'm not sure. Red side 4th pick, what was it? Was the Ezreal, so they just go with the safe AD carry. Only downside now already by picking Ornn and Ezreal, and then we assumed that, or well, blue side assumes of course that Echo is gonna be mid lane because Echo jungle isn't being like high prioritized anymore. But you pick a weak side bot laner and you pick a weak side top laner because Ornn doesn't get to have priority. Ornn he gets the skill, but he has no early kill pressure unless you fuck up one of the traits that he wants to take with you. And the same goes for Ezreal. They both just basically want to skill until they have 2 items. And that's when they really come online. So that basically means for red side already that they're not gonna have any agency to do something in the early game. They're gonna lose a lot of drakes. They're gonna lose pressure on basically every side of the map. Of course, Echo is a strong champion. He can push the waves very quickly if he gets a few levels in Q and has some items, but then still there's ways to play around the Echo. Like if you pick an Azir, Azir can also outpush the Echo, or if you pick a Cassiopeia, then you're also just saying like, hey, okay, Echo can jump into me, and then you're never gonna be able to leave again, and we're just gonna kill you. Or even you could pick a Kassadin on B4 or B5, just because you know that Kassadin is gonna outskill the Echo, and Echo doesn't have too much kill pressure on him. You could even go for a Galio as extra safety for your backline as well for the engage that red side has. So it's a little bit strange that for red side there's not a single there's 2 very weak side lanes that there's no way that you're gonna play around and get ahead, so you really have to sit back, take the beating of the first few levels, and then Aphelios of course is gonna eventually like outskill the Ezreal. I don't know about 2 items because then the Ezreal is very strong, but afterwards Aphelios is gonna get even more value even through the Ornn upgrades that Ezreal gets. And blue side can pick of course more or different scaling options versus the Ornn, the Echo and the Ezreal, and also more disengaged champions to make sure that there's no way that they're either gonna get poked out by the Ezreal or like hard engaged on by the Ornn or the Echo. So blue side picked the Shen for the top lane. Let's see, and indeed the Kassadin. And red side responded with a Lucian pick. So that showed that the that the Echo was a flex pick that we did not expect, or that blue side didn't expect, because of course if you can pick Kassadin into Echo, then you have a hard winning matchup for the Kassadin, but they are gonna then flex the Lucian mid lane, meaning that you have a very rough lane for the Kassadin, where Lucian just gets to take advantage of him, and you just hard delay the scaling of the Kassadin. But still, same as with like picking a LeBlanc or picking a Renekton, you put yourself and your entire team on a timer. So if the Lucian doesn't get really far ahead and absolutely stomps the Kassadin into the ground, then they're just on the timer. They have to end the game by like 20-25 minutes when like Ornn has his two items. Echo has 2 items. Ezreal has his 2 item power spike and Lucian as well. And then the Kassadin is not gonna be able to do anything. Trundle is not gonna have that much tanky stats from Ornn because he isn't too tanky yet. So that would be the window for the red side team to actually win the game. The only downside that they have is that they don't have a very early game jungler in the Echo. It's not an Elise, it's not a Rek'Sai, it's not a Lee Sin. And you have 2 other lanes like top lane and bot lane that are not gonna have any prio. So it's gonna be very hard to snowball the Lucian out of control versus the Kassadin, just because the Lucian is off team with what Ornn wants to do, what also Echo wants to do, and what Ezreal want to do. And for blue side, it was just an unexpected flex pick. Of course, you can still put the Shen versus the Lucian, and you can put Kassadin versus the Ornn. Not that Shen is gonna have the best time into Lucian, but he's still gonna be able to at least survive a little bit better. And for Shen, it's very easy to rush Brambles Fest and Ninja Tabi, and you have your W that blocks the auto attacks. So it's a lot easier. It's a lot more survivable. The only downside you get then is that if the Lucian gets push prio on the Shen, and if the Ornn gets wave priority on the Kassadin, that red side team can initiate a lane swap again. So you put Ornn mid lane, you put Lucian top lane, because blue side also lane swapped. And then if blue side has the non-favorable matchups in where Kassadin is facing onto the Lucian, that means that they're gonna want to have to lane swap back, but there's no way that they can actually push the waves to make a good rotation where they don't miss too much minions or XP. So if you're behind on the rotations, or not even the rotations, the lane swaps, then blue team is going to lose out a lot, and it's just going to delay their scaling and increase the scaling of the Ornn. So that's the only downside, but overall the red side is not completely on theme, because he wants to engage, you want to dash in. Lucian is very early game, and Ezreal wants to scale up into 2 items, and you have a Thresh that can basically do a little bit of everything, but it's not, you don't have one main centered theme for what the red side team want to do. You have early game, you have late game, you have mid game, there's a little bit of everything, but no consistent one strong point for them to play around. Like you could play around Lucian through the mid lane in the Kassadin matchup, but you're gonna have a hard time in the bot lane. I mean, Shen is gonna be able at level 6 to ult across the map, and there's not really a lot that Ornn can do about it if he does it out of vision. And then the later stages in the team fights, you have a Trundle that just gets all the tanky stats from the Ornn. Ornn's basically gonna be a piece of paper that gets shredded. And while the red side team wants to engage, or at least Ornn starts to engage, and the Echo wants to jump in, they're just gonna get countered by only the Aphelios and the Braum, and you can even have a Shen that ults into the Aphelios to save him and block the auto attacks with his W. And in the meantime, you have a Kassadin that's gonna be level 16, have a lot of items, and he's just gonna murder the Ezreal and the Lucian at like extreme later stages of the game. So the main focus of why blue side won, at least the draft, I know they also won the game, but the draft is because their champions are more on theme with each other. Of course, Aphelios, if people run into an Aphelios and he has the right set of guns, there's no way you're gonna win. Trundle has a lot of disruption, and he has like the blue color, so he can warp the terrain with his spiller. Braum is also, of course, very good for champions that want to dash into him, and you can block the Ornn ult, and you can block the Q, and you can block the ulti from Ezreal, and you can block the ult from Lucian. Then Shen can also block the auto attacks from a lot of champions, so you can block the passive that Echo has, you can block Ezreal, and you have double AD carry, so Shen counters also those. And then, besides all of that, being more on theme with the enemy champions want to engage onto you, and then you have the comfort zone of blue side. Besides that, you have a Kassadin that's gonna scale up to a point where there is nobody on the red side team that's going to be able to deal with him. So if the game goes long enough, the Kassadin pick alone is going to win the game. And on to the second game. Sadly, there were only 2 games because the enemy team had to Team Blue had to leave, unfortunately. Then, so the teams of course swapped around. So blue band 1 was again. I'm gonna check though, see if this is if they actually banned. Yeah, alright, yeah. So they actually banned the Gangplank again. Again, as I said before, we know that blue side team wants to prioritize Ornn. It's just because we know the team, we know the way they play. Seen many plays of them. Red side responded with a, is it red ban? Mordekaiser ban again, because we know that's one of their high priority flex picks to pick Mordekaiser. Red ban Lulu again. Same thing as the previous game, and the blue side banned the set, of course, also very nice into Ornn and Aphelios. And we still think that, or I at least also still think that Senna has a very high priority to come in as a blue side first pick. Especially if people are banning Aphelios, it's a telltale sign that they want to go for the Senna, because Senna with the fasting Senna strat and the survivability that she gives in lane, there's not really good reliable ways to shut down the Senna. So that means that you're if you ban Aphelios, the B1 Senna pick is a very obvious choice, so that's a red side ban. Then what? Blue pick. Okay, so blue side first picked the Misfortune. Was very strong AD carry, but I mean her ultimate is very useful, but still, like for example, let's say Yasuo is up, Braum is up as well, like strong ways to counter the Misfortune's ult. Only downside, of course, is if you ban the Braum or the Yasuo, you're already telling that you want to pick Misfortune or Ornn. We already the red side, they can expect to see an Ornn from blue side, so it was expected that the first priority pick would be an Ornn, same as what like Team Black did on blue side the first game. But they opted to pick the strong AD carry, even though the Varus counter pick was available for red side to come in R1, R2, or even R3. But red side chose to pick the Braum and Ezreal. Of course, Braum is a very, very, very safe pick. It doesn't really tell a lot. I mean, he has a lot of like green, he has a lot of harmony and synergy, and with other champions that you can pick in the rest of the team. And picking Ezreal basically says that you're gonna not play strong bot side. Just means that you're gonna farm until you have it's 20 minutes in the game, and you have your 2 item power spike, and then he's just gonna pop off and be extremely strong, like maybe in a point even stronger, or being able to match the Misfortune in the pressure that she has in at least in the isolated matchup. But of course in team fights, if Misfortune ever decides to press R, you have a Braum to block it and to keep the rest of the team safe. So the Misfortune first pick with a Braum available and an Ezreal to just get a safe laning phase is a little bit suboptimal, to put it the least amount of way. And blue side picked the Echo again, as so we know now that the Echo could be a flex pick, because we expected it to be mid and it was jungle. Of course, if they play jungle once, there's a high chance that it's gonna be jungle again, but it is still a viable flex. And as the last pick, they picked the Bard. Of course, Bard is the champion that you see in the LCK a lot to go against to go against fasting Senna strategy. If you have like sort of an enchanter support versus a melee tanky support, you can just poke him out, and there's no way that the melee support can ever engage. So if this was like a Thresh or an Nautilus, if the Bard and the Misfortune can just poke him out, then there's no way that they are ever going to be able to engage. And of course, with the Bard ulti is a very good way as well for the blue side team to create advantages. And Bard, with the pressure that blue team has in bot, because you picked Aphelios, because you picked Ezreal, you're saying, okay, we're not going to play through bot is going to be weak side. That was also decided in the draft. Then you basically open up a perfect spot for Bard, because the Ezreal is going to be on their turret regardless. Braum doesn't have a lot of insta CC unless he is in close range of Misfortune and can just press R at level 6. We said before that, especially Misfortune is going to have a lot of priority in the lane, and that gives free reign for Bard to roam with to mid lane, to jungle, to bot lane, to top lane, wherever he wants to go. And red team responded as their last pick with the Zoe. Of course, downside by picking Zoe, she does have mobility with her ultimate, but if you let's say if the Bard roams, and the most important thing is the synergy that Zoe and Ezreal have as well. They're very strong, like item power spikes and scaling, and they're both pokey champions. So if you have a poke composition that we're seeing here on the red side, then it's going to be very hard for blue side to do what they want to do with like a Misfortune ult or an Echo that wants to dash in, or a Bard that's going to be roaming. Because if you're going to be poked out, there's no way that Bard can like safely engage with an ultimate, because there's no follow-up from his team, because they're all very low. If Echo dashes in, he's already at half HP, he has to ult out again. If Misfortune ever decides to use her ultimate and stand still, just get a free Zoe bubble, and she's probably just gonna get one shot at later stages of the game. Of course, if you R3 a Zoe, you can B4, B5, so band 4, band 5 out strong counter picks or annoying matchups like LeBlanc. But Zoe is a very strong champion against stationary mid laners and spellcasters. So like Azir is, if you pick Azir into Zoe, is not going to be the best time. If you would want to outrange their poke and you pick a Vel'Koz, well, the moment that Vel'Koz ults, he gets a Zoe bubble, he just gets poked out, or maybe there's going to be follow-up from red side on the 5th or the 4th on R4 or R5. Let's see. Of course, Galio would be possible. Oh. But then again, you have this. He does provide a lot of safety, but it isn't a reliable engage. It's more a disengage tool, and red team doesn't show that they want a hard engage. They just want to poke you out and then siege. Let's see. Rumble has the same issue. Taliyah as well. Like all these immobile mid laners are gonna have a hard time against Zoe, because the moment they stand still to cast ultimates or cages or whatever, they're just gonna get They're just gonna get slept by the Zoe, and then they're not gonna be able to play the game. And then blue team, this band. Let's see. No, that's picks. Blue band, they banned Elise. Oh, I know from knowing the team that Elise is a target ban to red side's jungler, and they banned the Karthus. Don't know why you would ban Karthus, because Jarvan is also still up, and you can of course abuse him. And even like if you go Echo jungle, you can just buy a Zhonya's. Bard could buy a Zhonya's. Bard can ult either the Karthus when he ults. I don't even know if you can do that if Karthus is in his passive, or the Bard could just ult the Misfortune or other members of the team if they are low, if Karthus decides to ult. And red team banned away the Jarvan. So that's for the mid lane matchup. No, for the jungle matchup. I mean, of course, Ezreal can jump out and Zoe can ult out. She's gonna be stuck in the Cataclysm again, but it's also to negate a lot of early game pressure with the Misfortune and the Bard versus the Ezreal. So that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. Of course, the combo of Misfortune plus Jarvan. You can get a Bard ult in there. Then Echo can has a stun. It's just to deny blue side their wombo combo, even though you have a Braum that can face tank it. But that's only the Misfortune ult. That's not like a lot of them. The Echo could come from another side. You can bait out the Braum wall. So with Jarvan, there would be a lot of ways to play around the defensive options that red side has. And then they also opted to ban the LeBlanc. As I said before, that LeBlanc, as a high mobility mid laner, besides it being a hard matchup for the Zoe, LeBlanc also just has the early game pressure that could be utilized to roam to the bot lane, because we have a weak side bot lane. She can dodge the spells that Zoe pops out. She can poke, as far as you want to call it, poke, maybe one shot the red side team back by just jumping into the Ezreal, jumping in onto Zoe and popping back out before the sleep lands, if you build a Banshees, or before the Braum stun hits. So of course it leaves open like Corki, Azir to be picked on blue side, B4, B5, that you even outskill the Zoe and the Ezreal and the Braum. But on red side, where is it? Red side fourth pick was the Ornn. Just to increase like increase the amount of options that you have in the late game with the Ornn upgrades coming in for Ezreal and for Zoe, and it's also another way to disrupt the Misfortune ult. And besides that, by picking Ornn, you give more scaling options to your side of the team, so that negates an Azir pick here, or a Corki, or a Kassadin, or a Fiora. Like if the amount of scaling that red side has makes it harder for blue side to also pick even more scaling, because then it's just going to be seeing which team composition works better into the other one, instead of just who is going to outskill the other one, as we saw in the first game with the Kassadin that's going to automatically win the game once he reaches level 16 and a certain amount of items. And there's no way to counter the Ornn, and Ornn is also more on theme with the Ezreal and the Zoe, because Ezreal and Zoe can poke out the Misfortune, the Bard, the Echo, and whatever they want to pick here, because there's not enough champions that have the sustain to out-sustain the poke that these two champions can provide. And then once they're low enough, you can siege or hard engage with the Ornn Horn, and there of course you can save your team with Bard ult, but with the mobility that the red side has, Bard is almost gonna have to ult his own team to save them from the onslaught that red team is gonna be able to bring to them once they've been poked out a little bit. Then blue side responded with an Aurelia pick and a Kayle pick. Of course, for red side, it's to be expected that the kill is gonna be in the top lane. Same as with the Gangplank, that you have a lane that outskills the Ornn, meaning that there's less of a threat from the late game that red side has, but the Kayle also has to walk in, or there's champions that have to walk into her for her to be able to deal the damage that she wants to do. And there's not a lot that she can do versus the poke that Ezreal and Zoe have. So maybe in an isolated matchup, the Kayle will beat the Ornn, or Aurelia will beat the Ornn, of course, as well, up until a certain point where Ornn can just stand his ground. But in the bigger picture of the team, there's not going to be a way that Kayle is going to be useful as a late game hyper carry versus the poke and the safety and the engage and disengage that red team already has. Of course, Irelia is also a flex pick, whereas it can go top lane and mid lane. But this also shows, of course, that Echo is going to be the jungle pick. So we have a way to counter the Echo in the jungle. And Irelia can either match up versus the Zoe or match up versus the Ornn. But of course the chances are bigger that Irelia is going to be facing off versus Zoe, just because she has more pressure. She can itemize very well against Zoe by building Wit's End first. You can build a Tiamat, you can just shove her in and roam together with the Bard. And you give the Kayle a free scaling lane to scale up. And then hopefully for blue side be useful in later stages of the game. But the way that the draft looks now is that she's not going to be useful, but there's a high chance that she's going to get poked out, and then the moment that someone from red side is overstepping, that Kayle thinks, alright, I'm going to be able to do a lot of damage, I'm going to be able to shred their front line of the Ornn and Braum, and whatever jungle pick is coming in, that she's already way too low. You could of course say that she can ult the Irelia before Kayle reaches like the level 18 full build. And it is just a protector tool for the Irelia or the Echo that want to jump in. But then again, there's a lot of safety for red side. If these champions want to jump in, there's a lot of disengage and mobility on basically every single champion. And it also puts a lot of pressure on the Irelia to hard carry in the early/mid game. And then of course for now for red side it's very easy to pick something like, hey, alright, so they have two champions that want to engage, they have one champion that wants to hyper skill, they have priority bot lane, so they're gonna there's a high chance that the blue team is either gonna play through bot side or through mid, or that Bard is gonna roam. And then same as what was in the previous draft, that Ezreal as weak side and Ornn as weak side as well, especially if you put them like against an Irelia or an Aatrox or a Zed or a Mordekaiser, that Ornn is not gonna have priority. But by picking Kayle, it is okay that red side has two low priority lanes because there's not a heavy threat coming from the top side of the map from the blue team. And that's only assuming, of course, that Kayle is going to go into the Ornn to get a free scaling. I think that if Kayle goes into Zoe, there's just not a whole lot that she's going to be able to accomplish. She's going to get poked out, she's just going to die a lot, not going to be able to farm. They won't have a good time. And then the last pick, red side, was Graves. But Graves is in itself also a high scaling champion. You can go lethality, you can go the more expensive Black Cleaver and the healing item. Death's Dance build, making him unkillable and also just killing all the enemy team. So it's an even more scaling pick to round out the red side composition. He doesn't of course get to poke. I mean, if he builds lethality, if he builds lethality and he's gonna just press R, it's not really poke, but it's a nice way to finish off targets that the Ezreal and the Zoe can poke out. And even if that doesn't do the trick, you have the Ornn Horn, and then you do have the mobility and the follow-up to hard engage or siege versus the blue side team. And also if the Echo dashes in or if the Irelia dash in, maybe they have a kill ult on them already, or they get healed or ulted by Bard, and you have a misfortune ult. You can insta CC anybody that jumps in, you can dash away, you can ult away, you can sleep people, you can CC people with your W and with your QE combo. You have a smoke screen. If you go Phage Rush, you have a lot of movement speed and mobility as well. You have a dash. So there's no reliable way for blue side to actually engage on the red side team. Blue side doesn't have the sustain to live through the poke of red side, and they also don't necessarily outscale the red side team. The only way they outscale is if the Kayle gets so far ahead, or to a certain point where she can 2v1 the Ornn and let's say the Zoe, or an Ezreal ult that comes in, or a Graves that comes to check out on the top lane. But even if Kayle is holding her own in a 2v1 situation, then with Braum, Ezreal, and Zoe, there's not a real reliable way where the blue team can engage on them and can actually win the fight, just because they're going to be poked out. So the same as with the previous game, this was in my opinion at least, a winning draft for Team Black. Just because they got a better understanding of what blue team want to do with the first 3 champions that they drafted, and then of course they countered that with picking another composition that works well into what blue side is seemingly willing to do, which also isn't really much, because they want to get priority bot lane, wants to leave bot lane, but of course you need priority for that, and then you have an assassin that wants to jump in and hop out. Then afterwards you pick someone that also wants to hop in but doesn't want to hop out, because there's no reliable way for Aurelia to disengage. And then you have this weird backline champion that's gonna possibly scale infinitely. But alright, she's quite of course Kayle is quite short range, and then Miss Fortune makes up for that. She has range, but you have a Braum that can block it. You have a not a Braum. You have an Ornn that can interrupt the Miss Fortune ult, and then you also have all the poke that that side offers. You could even say that Ornn is a poke champion with his ultimate, to make sure that the Kayle is never going to be able to step forward. If she does at any point in the game try to step forward and do some kind of DPS, then she's just gonna get blown up, and there's no reliable follow-up engage or disengage on the blue side team. So the win for both games goes to Team Black. So now it's red side, and the previous game it was Team Black on the blue side. And thank you very much for watching, even though it's only one, and I hope to see you soon by doing more of these kind of draft reviews. And I will try to talk more about the MTG colors. I sort of totally forgot right now, but it's also more of a geheugensteuntje. I don't even know the English word. A way to think about compositions in a very abstract way by talking about colors instead of saying what the mode of the champion is or what they really want to do.